Hi, welcome to Group 4's presentation. I'm Anna Bowe, and along with my colleagues Kimbra Christie, Tessie Eberhardt, Anila Varkeyes, and Marianne Vincent, we'd like to present our article to you entitled Accessibility in Online Nursing Education for Persons with Disabilities. By the end of our presentation, we hope you're able to state why web accessibility for people with disabilities is important, name 3 phases of universal design, summarize principles of universal design for instruction and access, identify use of evaluation tools for assessing the barriers to web accessibility, and lastly, state a challenge to web accessibility for people with disabilities. So what is our aim here? Our aim is to have accessible educational material and online accessibility for everyone, including persons with disabilities. This is important because the learning challenges for people with disabilities becomes much more prominent in an online learning environment. So what is universal design? The Adaptive Environment Center, which is a nonprofit organization to help families and communities solve practical problems for persons with disabilities, offers this definition. It's a framework for the design of places, things, information, communication, and policy to be usable by the widest range of people operating in the widest range of situations without special or separate design. Some examples of environmental access would be sidewalk, curb cutouts, and electronic doorways. This article presents 3 phases or progressions of universal design development. These will be discussed individually in the next slides, but they are 1. Universal design, 2. Universal design for instruction, and 3. Web accessibility. Phase 1. Universal design. The basic notion of universal design is grounded in 3 legislative actions. They include the Americans with Disabilities Act, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and the Rehabilitation Act Sections 504 and 508. The Rehabilitation Act is unique in that it provides guidelines for web accessibility. However, there are still barriers to implementation of these guidelines. Phase 2. Universal Design for Instruction. This process enables students to learn using various abilities such as reading, listening, and discussing, each of which are available in formats accessible to all students. These principles will be discussed in further detail in the next few slides. Phase 3. Web accessibility embraces the principles of an accessible design to move a person with disabilities towards independence when interacting with web content. Here, educators can apply UDI to the virtual classroom to enhance accessibility for people with disabilities. There is a clear focus on enhancing websites and focusing on the development of educational software.
At the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind, we have implemented a one-to-one laptop program for grades 9 through 12. Each laptop is loaded with a screen reader and a screen enlargement program if appropriate. We can utilize various other tools including a refreshable braille displays, USB CCTVs for both near and distance viewing, along with Daisy book players for textbooks and leisure books. By using a school-wide wireless network, the students are able to access the internet and printer in any classroom from anywhere on campus. Learning has become engaging and exciting for many of our students.
Let's talk some about the 9 principles for universal design for instruction. Number 1 is equability of use. This means that the design is useful and marketable to people with disabilities. It should avoid segregating or stigmatizing any users. Provision of class notes posted online is an example of this. Flexibility in use. This principle mandates that the design should accommodate a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. Simple and intuitive. This can be achieved by eliminating unnecessary complexity. Perceptible information. The design should communicate necessary information effectively to the user regardless of ambient conditions or the user's sensory abilities. Tolerance for error. The design should consider and anticipate variation in individual learning pace and prerequisite skills. Instruction should be designed to minimize non essential physical effort in order to allow maximum attention to learning. An appropriate size and space should be provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use regardless of user's body size, posture, or mobility. The instructional environment should promote interaction and communication among students and between students and faculty. There should also be an instructional climate that is welcoming and inclusive to all. So, how can we apply these principles to web learning? Let's review a few examples. Providing an alternative text is especially helpful for people who are blind and rely on a screen reader to have the content of the website read to them. We should verify that every form element, like a text field, checkbox, or a drop down list, has a label which is associated to the correct form element. The user should be able to submit the form and recover from any errors, such as the failure to fill in all required fields. In any media that is used, like audio or video, we must ensure that they have captions and a transcript, and the content should be easily accessible. The use of color can enhance comprehension, but we should not use color alone to convey information. That information may not be available to a person who is colorblind and will be unavailable to screen reader users. And make sure content is clearly written and easy to read. There are many ways to make the content easier to understand. Some ways are to write clearly, use clear fonts, and use headings and lists appropriately. And last, HTML compliant and accessible pages are more robust and provide better search engine optimization. Cascading style sheets, or CSS, allow to separate content from presentation. This provides more flexibility and accessibility of your content. Challenges to web accessibility may be largely driven by economic factors and web design issues. Just finding the money to support what it would cost to create, implement, and maintain system wide guidelines, as well as to enforce them, would be a huge hurdle for some institutional budgets. Also, guidelines as to what educators place in their course management systems, as well as educator support for implementing and maintaining these, would certainly be a challenge. Carefully designed online courses can be built such that they embed special skills that promote improved learning for persons with disabilities. For example, problems with basic reading, writing, and numeracy skills can be at least partly overcome by embedding various tasks into online courses. Tasks such as journaling, revising, note taking, and referencing can be made more accessible with specially designed course utilities. Assistive technology would promote lifelong learning for a population that has essentially been faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges to their ability to independently direct their own learning. Many learning disabled and physically disabled persons have wonderful talents and unique ways of viewing things. Have we become so focused on the traditional way of teaching that we fail to see the benefits of becoming more inclusive? Knoll's theory of adult learning refers to experience and error as providing the basis of learning. What if we focused on different experiences as diversity, not disability? What if learners were given the tools to learn the way that works best for them, not the quote unquote right way? What if the system conformed to the learner instead of forcing the learner to fit the system? Accessibility guidelines can be daunting for those never required to consider them before. To persons with disabilities, the challenges are all too familiar, and they often find creative approaches to problems a quote unquote normal person would never consider. In blind rehabilitation, for example, many professionals are themselves blind or visually impaired. Could education benefit from different abled consultants and educators to increase accessibility for everyone? The web is a crucial part of learning in the 21st century. Most of us are able to access the web when we want, where we want, and how we want. For persons with disabilities, this is not the case. Equal access to online services such as higher education, healthcare, government, and more are essential. Additionally, social media such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and others allow persons with disabilities more social participation and networking opportunities, but only if they can access it. So, what is the solution in solving the lack of accessibility to online environment for persons with disabilities? Well, as Michael J. Fox said, the answer is in all of us. Thank you for watching our presentation.